Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at a brand new Aggron card that was revealed by the lovely David Hochmann over at Rappelman TCG over on Facebook. So what does it do? Well, it is a big, bulky, beefy Pokemon. It's got 170 HP, which is a huge amount of HP. Even on a stage 2, we generally expect like 170 with Empoleon. And okay, my boy Mamoswine's got 180, but that doesn't take away from the fact that 170 is still a huge amount of HP. You do have a huge retreat cost as well, given that it's right up there at 4, but Brawny Pads gives you an extra 50 HP if you've got a retreat cost of 4, so actually, we like the retreat cost here. 170 HP plus Brawny Pads, we can work with this, ladies and gentlemen. Weakness to fire is slightly unfortunate because Blacephalon is amazing, but the resistance to Psychic here is actually kind of nice. It means stuff like Garbodor is going to have a very, very hard time taking you down. Seriously, huge HP, Brawny Pads resistance, Psychic decks are not going to want to have a go at this. It is a metal Pokemon, so that's weakness on stuff like Gardevoir, for instance, which is pretty important. And I did show you yesterday that Sylveon and Gardevoir Tag Team GX is really taking over in Japan. You're hitting for weakness, that's a very good thing. Plus you've got stuff like Delmise to do just that little bit of extra damage. And let's not forget that the other day we looked at Lucario and Melmetal Tag Team GX, and that has a ridiculous GX attack that reduces damage done to all of your metal Pokemon by 30 for the rest of the game. And then of course, you bring in the fact that you can use Brawny Pads and you've got 170 HP. This is a Pokemon with a little bit of bulk. But what does it actually do? Well, the first attack here does 80 damage for a Metal Double Colorless. And during your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon gets damaged by an attack, put 8 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. If you attack this, you have to take 8 damage counters in return. That is absolutely ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to really, really hurt trying to attack it. And what's amazing here is that I've told you about Brawny Pads, and I've told you about Lucario and Melmetal Tag Team GX, and I've told you about the ridiculous HP. It is really not outside the realms of possibility that you could have a 220 HP Pokemon where damage being done to it is reduced by 30 the following turn, which means you are very unlikely to get a one-hit KO. And yet, when you attack it, you've got to take 8 damage counters. So you're in this ridiculous position where it's extremely difficult to get a one-hit KO, unless you're something like Blacephalon. And even if you do get a one-hit KO, you have to take 8 damage counters. But if you don't get a one-hit KO, then you have to take 16 damage counters or 24 damage counters. It can get really over the top silly, really over the top quickly. And this really is the hook of Aggron here. I am extremely difficult to KO, and if you try, you've got to take 8 damage counters to do so. Now, this isn't the first time we've ever seen this, of course. We had Rocky Helmet, which gave 3 damage counters when you tried to attack, and we had an Ace-Spec Rock Guard that gave you 6 damage counters when you tried to attack, but taking 8 damage counters here really is over the top. Incidentally, you could go into the expanded format, whack a Rock Guard on this, and then your opponent takes 14 damage counters when they attack you, and against non-GXs like White Kyurem, that's a one-hit KO. But actually, there are plenty of Pokemon that will be KO'd by this. In the expanded format, you've got Night March Pokemon like Joltik and Pumpkaboo. But if you're against Lost March here, your opponent's main attacker is going to be Jumpluff. Maybe they try using a Nanu. Well, you're talking 70 HP and 40 HP. Those Pokemon will not be able to attack Aggron without being KO'd in return. And then sure, they can use a Guzma to attack a Pokemon on the bench, maybe even something like a Pokemon Catcher or an Escape Rope. But actually, most decks aren't playing Pokemon Catcher or Escape Rope. and you might not hit a heads on Pokemon Catcher. So your opponent can use Guzma to get around this, but sooner or later they're going to run out of Guzma. So against things like Lost March, which have very low HP, they're essentially taking a prize, if they're lucky, if they can get enough damage, and you're taking a prize because of their low HP. But you're hitting for 80, so against something like Lost March, you're taking a KO with this attack, and then you're taking a KO when they attack you back. Now, generally speaking, that's not going to be the case. There are a few decks against which this is going to be that great. But 80 damage isn't bad. You add a Choice Band, and that's a one-hit KO on Sylveon GX, and you can always use Shrine of Punishment to keep this adding up. But of course, it's not about getting one-hit KOs with this. It's about, I hit you for 80, but then when you attack me, I hit you for 80. So now with a Choice Band, you're hitting 110, and then your opponent's using something like Buzzwole, and then when they attack you, they take another 80, and then that's up to 190. Or it's a Lycan Rock, but there's a Shrine of Punishment in play, so it essentially goes up to 200. And then they're KO'd. Or you're not doing a huge amount like that. You're not running around with Choice Band and Shrine of Punishment, and you're just doing 80. And your opponent's taking 80 when they attack you. And sooner or later, this is not going to end well for them. I can see a strong argument to not play Choice Bands so that you can take advantage of Brawny Pads and just do 80 and have your opponent attack you. Something like a Granbull, well, that's actually weak, so it's going to get KO'd anyway. But something like a White Kyurem, you attack them for 80, sure, they can KO you. Oh, no, wait, they can't. They'll be 10 damage short. And you're going to KO them when they attack you. And that's what's really great about this Aggron. It's a really nice attack. Your opponent's going to try and get around it, but they're not always going to be able to. Now, the attack cost here is a bit of a pain. Metal Double Colorless is moderately expensive, but with Double Colorless Energy, it's only 2 attachments, and you've got Solgaleo Prism Star, and you've got Magnezone, and I know it's a Stage 2, but we've got Alolan Ninetales here, which has essentially made Stage 2 Pokemons more viable than they've been for a very long time. Second attack here, you need to add an extra energy, so it's Metal Treble Colorless, 160 damage. This Pokemon cannot attack during your next turn. Now, it's only 1 extra energy on the first attack. This is your I need a big one-hit KO attack. Choice Band, Buzzwole. Choice Band, Shrine of Punishment, Lycan Rock. You're getting an easy one-hit KO on Sylveon and Gardevoir to take 3 prizes. It's not really what this Pokemon is made for. It's not your main goal with this Pokemon, but it's useful and it's a nice attack to have. It does a lot of damage, and the attack cost is even more awkward, but if you need a giant one-hit KO, this is what it does. It is not the aim or the goal of this Pokemon. Trying to get 4 energy on there regularly to hit for 160 and then get out the active because you can't attack next turn, it's not ideal. It's not what you're aiming for. It's the first attack. And seriously, this has got some beef. Between stuff like Lucario and Melmetal, Brawny Pads, and its naturally high HP, this is a beefy Pokemon. 80 damage isn't great, and the attack cost is a little expensive, but it's not that difficult to actually pay it. And then you're doing 8, and your opponent takes 8 in return. And yes, I know they've got Guzma, and there are going to be turns they use Guzma to get around, and there are going to be turns they can't. And that's when you really, really make hay with Aggron here. I adore Aggron. It's a Stage 2, it's not the cheapest attack, but between your beef and your 8 damage counters, I think there is a lot of things to love here. So I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. I think this is a deck waiting to be made, and I think there are a whole bunch of people that just have not made their deck to play against a Pokemon like this, and you can clean up. But ladies and gentlemen, I would very much like to know what you think about Aggron, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but please do remember the most important rule as always. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where there are Transformers cards being spoiled. And some of them are exclusive to my channel. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.